Okay, so we'll go through each topic, and I would expect you to tell me, or rather tell the class as to what all we have learned as far as each stuff is concerned. Like, first, what do we understand well by that particular topic, whether it is lecture method or demonstration method? And second is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of each method? And finally, to make that particular method more effective, what we need to do. Whatever you remember, let's hear it. Okay, so what's lecture method? Anyone can go.
Well, this is Ashok Panda through lecture method.
Good morning, Mr. Panda.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, the most important thing in lecture method is, we are able to give a feel to a people.
Yeah,
Usually, like for example, now in a Zoom, we are able to listen you, but you are not able to give me a feel, or I'm not able to give you a feel because we are not able to see each other. So
yeah,
that feeling aspect is a very important thing,
yeah,
which really matters.
yeah,
And number two is what happens in lecture method is mostly, I don't say it is one way, but mostly it is one way. Though it is two way, but
yeah,
mostly it is one way, because
yeah.
you speak and we listen.
Mhm.
Sometimes we interact, but interaction is comparatively much less.
Yeah,
And number three again, which is very, very important, is in lecture method, what happens? Your number of participants, there is a limit to number of participants. Like in Zoom, we can speak to 100 people or 200 people, but in lecture method, because span of attention is there and all these things there. So say about 25 or 30 would be the best number for
yeah,
a lecture methods.
yeah.
So these are the few things which came to my mind and I put across.
Sure, sure. Okay. Anybody else? What are the
Uh,
advantages of lecture method?
Hello, sir. This is Pradeep.
Yeah, good morning, Pradeep.
Yeah. So I think what Mr. Panda said, apart from that, the big advantage of lecture method is cost effectiveness. You can, in a very short time, you can transfer the information to the
Yeah,
large group or audience, basically. So this is one of the
exactly.
biggest aspect of lecture method.
Yeah,
One of the key thing which you have to take care when you are using this method is that you have to be extremely sharp in your communication skills,
yeah,
because the only thing which can you know act as a glue when you're talking to audience using lecture method is your communication skills and your style. So you
yeah,
have to be extremely at par and on that side.
yeah. And also your credibility as, yeah, as an expert, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. So when do we use lecture method? Uh, if your learning objective is XYZ, then we use lecture method. What are those learning objectives which for which lecture method is most suited?
Sir,
Yeah,
Bhumi here.
yeah, Bhumi.
Sir, I would differ on one point with Mr. Panda
Hmm.
and also answer your question that there will be a question, the answer in this question itself that whenever we want to, address a large group, not just address, but
Yeah,
train a large group of, very large group of people,
yeah,
lecture method is much, convenient kind of.
yeah,
Yes, and also it is time effective. So yes, this point is like something that I have gathered. Wherever you want to have a very large group, and in that case you cannot have time for interaction kind of. It is then that you use lecture method.
yeah. Okay, right, good. So how do we like sometimes lecture method becomes boring because it's a one-way traffic, right? So how do we make lecture method more effective or more participative? How do we do that?
So by adding a question answer session and also clubbing it with demonstration or any other
Yeah,
method.
yeah, yeah,
We can even use visual aids, sir,
yeah,
and sometimes also we can, I mean, just as she said that your yes, question answer is like interactive, making it more of interactive.
yeah,
Like you sometimes include skill quizzes, right?
yeah, Yeah.
So kind of a little brainstorming is done, and also you get to know whether the students have understood or not. I mean, candidates have understood or not, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Priyanka has written, students will be able to understand the basics of Kepler's law. We can ask students to prepare and give lecture. Teaching is the best way to learn. Yeah, okay. So when you, the role is reversed where the students can also come up and take part of the lecture. They can come onto the blackboard or whiteboard and do some lecturing themselves, right? Okay, so there are two terms. One is lecture, the other is lecturate. So any what's the difference between a lecture and a lecturate?
So the basic objective of both are same, that is
Yeah,
transfer of knowledge, but the
yeah,
lecture would be a 20-minute capsule.
yeah, 20 minutes or less.
Yeah.
And when do we use lecturate? When do we use lecture and when do we use lecturate?
Lecturate would be in combination with demonstration.
Yeah, in
Prior to
combination with
demonstration,
it.
it would be prefixed.
Exactly, exactly. Either it can be prefixed or suffixed. When some demonstrations happened, you are debriefing the students on the demonstration which has happened. Then also you use lecturate to further reinforce the knowledge they have gained. All right. Okay. All right. Anybody would like to tell us about the demonstration method? What are the advantages, disadvantages, and how to make demonstration more effective? What is demonstration method? And when do we use demonstration method? For what? For which learning objective? Demonstration method is the appropriate method.
So whenever we have a process in our hand or
Mhm.
an object in our hand or some task has to be completed and a step-by-step procedure is there, which could be demonstrated in front of everybody, and that sort of task is being done under demonstration method.
Okay. Okay. All right.
It
Anybody
would
else?
be primarily used for honing of skills, transfer of skills.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
By demonstrating, like you gave an example of how to fit an electric bulb.
Yeah.
So by lecture, it would be long process of telling the trainees, but by demonstration, it would be much easier for transferring the skill besides the knowledge.
Yeah. 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 When skill is one of your objectives to transfer the skills or impart skills, where people can do things on their own with their own hands, then a demonstration method is much better than a lecture method or any other method. All right. Okay. So what are the advantages of a demonstration method? A mathematics teacher, right? Does he or she use demonstration method while in class?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay. Why do you say it's a demonstration method?
So the first, I mean, the teacher, math teacher, would actually show us
Yeah.
how to calculate something or how to, I mean, do that example. I mean, sum or whatsoever we are doing,
Yeah.
and based on that, we get a clarification of how to. I mean, step by step, they lead us to the conclusion, kind of.
All right. So when the maths teacher solves a sum on the blackboard, right? What message goes out to the students?
That if certain input is given and it is processed, then certainly there would be a fixed output immediately.
Okay. Okay. What else?
She also conveys that it's not a rocket science, you can do it.
You can do it, right? So if I can do it, you can do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just a problem on the in the book, but it has a solution, and the solution can be found, right? So that he's conveying through demonstration that it is solvable, and you can do it, right? Okay. So what are the disadvantages? Are there any disadvantages of demonstration method? When a demonstration method cannot be used, or demonstration method can be used in any circumstance.
What do you think? Do you think it is very expensive or something to bring a equipment and show and all? It becomes very expensive.
Yeah, it could be one. Priyanka says cannot be used to teach interpersonal skills which require another person. Yeah, okay.
Sir, you also said that sometimes participants be, I mean, you gave an example where participants sometimes be dishonest.
Yeah, sometimes the participants can be dishonest.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, from my own experience, I can tell you that in chemistry lab, there would be students who would bribe the lab assistant to find out what kind of uh, solves have been given for this particular experiment, and they just yeah, so that there's a possibility of being dishonest, yes. Okay, and there are some things, say, like teacher is teaching the subject philosophy. There's no way he or she can demonstrate, right? So demonstration method will not be possible there. Or if you are teaching, say, certain areas of physics, say for example, something to do with the stars, or about exosphere, then you can't actually demonstrate. You can only give a lecture on that, or solve a equation on the board. So where the demonstration may not be possible, right? Okay. All right. So e-learning. Anything you remember regarding e-learning?
So, anything wherein digital devices, I mean, our machines are used is
Yeah.
e-learning.
Yeah.
Is
Any
that
digital device, right?
yes?
Whether it's a laptop or iPad or your phone. Uh, so any digital device which when it is being used, it's e-learning. It's as simple as that, right? So what we are doing right now is e-learning. Uh, but there is a specific uh, sorry, yeah, the specific way the word e-learning is used in training. Like you must have heard of e-learning modules, where which is similar to programmed instruction, but it is slightly different in the sense it is in fact, programmed instruction and e-learning would be similar in that sense. Like you have Coursera, you have MOOCs, yes, and there are companies like Skillsoft who actually have e-learning modules which companies can subscribe to, and give it to their give access to their employees, and uh, once they complete it, possibly they get some points which goes into their personal dossier, and sometimes it is mandated also by organizations that you have to complete, say 10 or 15 e-learnings in a year. So you do it at your pace, and once you have done, then you are also, when you are being appraised at the end of the year, you are also evaluated on that.
Yes,
Okay.
mostly, sir, it is. I have seen that with the big organizations, that with the large organizations, it is
Yeah.
usually mandated.
It is usually mandated. Yes, e-learning is mandated. Okay, so business games. Anything which you know about business games? In fact, we played one. Anybody who has played Chanakya, the business game which IMA conducts, or heard of it?
Sir, you told about it. I mean, other than that, we have not heard about it.
Okay, okay, all right. So games can actually be. I mean, it can be played in an hour, a couple of hours. It can actually go on 2 days. In fact, this particular business game which IMA conducts, Chanakya, it is across India. All across India, the corporates participate in these, and it can go on for almost a week. So it's a very involved game where people, the teams compete as companies, and they take decisions, and whatever decisions they take, they either gain or lose market share, or gain or lose money in the share market, and finally there would be a winner. So it's a very involved game, and mostly it is computer based games. All right.
Could you please dilate a little more on business games?
Okay. So, Mr. Panda, do you remember the game which we played?
Actually, sorry, I was not there that
You were
day.
not there. You were
I'm so
not
sorry.
there. Okay, no problem. We anybody who was there and who actually played the HNT game?
Yes, sir, I was there.
Yeah,
Sonal here.
yeah, Sonal. So, please tell us your experience playing that game.
So, business game is also like simulation only, wherein rather than experiencing in the time to come, you do it then and there. So your learnings are, I mean, you learn lot many things without experience. I mean, with your experience while playing.
Yeah,
So the takeaways, rather than, I mean, it is with not putting a lot of things at risk. So you are learning.
yeah,
So you're learning and understanding and experiencing through simulation.
yeah.
That is what was
So,
my
so,
experience.
so you learn in a risk-free environment, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The
So,
takeaway is a lasting process. I mean, because the person who played it would remember it. I mean, understand it as well, and remember it for a lasting time.
yeah, yeah. You will not forget that experience for a long, long time, maybe throughout your life, right? Because a lot of things apart from cognitive, your affective faculties are also involved in that. You actually feel stress, you actually feel elation, you actually feel all kinds of emotions while you are playing that game, and those emotions are real, and whatever you learn through your emotions, that lasts for a long, long time, right? So the person who actually, after negotiation, he or she went back and played a different, I mean, made a different choice to make up for all the losses he has suffered in the previous rounds. So that's something which is real, right? It's happening right in front of your eyes, and you are only doing it, right? So we learned a lot, not only about decision making, but also about trust, about emotional quotient, about team building, about group goals. Business game teaches you a lot of things. And so so uh, 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 what was the takeaway for the people who were actually watching the game? Those who did not participate, there were only 4 people who participated in that particular game, and other people were watching, right? And they also made certain comments on the chat box. So my question is for those people who were watching the four people on screen who were playing. What was your takeaway?
remember that the first thing that was very clear was the instruction that you gave in the first line itself, that it was a team game kind of, wherein the all the teams had to had to win in a way that the organization benefits the most.
Yeah, yeah,
Instead of that, I mean, that active listening was not there at the time, because we were, I mean, then later on, after playing, everyone realized that yes, what you actually gave as, told as an instruction was
yeah.
not taken properly. Yeah.
Okay.
The first thing was,
So, all right. Anybody else? Any other takeaways from that game?
apart from that, a lot of other things, like once the decision was, like made a decision, right?
Yeah.
All four of them.
Mhm.
And one of the persons, right? I vaguely remember, I think Somendra,
No, no, no. Let's not take names. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, no,
No
I'm
names. Yeah.
recalling that
Okay.
game part.
All right.
Yes. So
Yeah.
he just went, like with the first round, after taking the decision, he went with the decision, but then
Yeah.
he thought of, making up for the loss that he previously incurred, kind of.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, does that game have parallel with the real life in corporates, in companies? How do
Yes.
you link that to the companies, or it's just a fiction? I mean, it's a make believe thing. It doesn't happen in real life. What do you say?
It does happen, sir. It does happen. Most of the times it happens, in fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have also experienced, like, under one organization, be it sales, service, spare parts. So
Yeah.
everyone has their own objectives of getting the maximum gains, profit,
Yeah.
despite the organizational goals. So
Yeah.
it does happen in real.
And
Right.
most probably, sir, whenever the targets are given,
Mm-hmm.
this competitive environment, too much of competitive environment really defeats the purpose, kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, last year I was doing a assignment for express delivery company, and for that we had to go around the entire country to their offices, and we got to meet so many people, and there were actually competition amongst the salespeople, uh, although they were in the same city and they belonged to the same organization. There was competition in the sense they were actually poaching each other's clients, right? I mean, they would go to that extent. They would poach on each other's client and to increase their own sales. So in real life, it does happen. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what is Mr. Panda? Did you
I did.
get? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
of
All
course.
right.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what you see on your screen is a simulator, right? It's a flight simulator. So on simulation, anybody would like to say anything? Any learnings? And when do we use simulation as a training method?
May I, sir, or anybody
Yeah.
else would like to? It seems
Gu-
like I'm the one who's sleeping for answering. I would like others to speak as well.
Guys, yeah, speak up, guys. I mean, apart from the exam which is coming up in January, you are going to be trainers yourselves. So if you feel shy of speaking up now, how would you speak in front of your trainees?
So
Go
may I
ahead.
speak?
Yeah, yeah, please.
This is Priyanka here from Bangalore. So
Yes, Priyanka.
simulation is used in any situation where real world conditions need to be duplicated so
Yeah,
that the person can learn, because lecture or something would not work in that situation. Like for a pilot or even people in the army,
yeah,
they use a lot of simulations for training them to be, to shoot targets,
yeah,
dropping bombs and things like that. Simulation is also used in the medical industry by
yeah,
surgeons
yeah.
when to learn how to operate.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay,
Basically, to
so
avoid risk, I mean, wherever there is a high risk involved, sir,
yeah,
Usually simulations are not just high risk in the way of material, I mean the material way, but also high risk of life as well.
Yeah, life and property.
Yes.
Yeah. So
It's
wherever
also used by astronauts.
used by astronauts, yeah, because you have to simulate a gravitation free environment. That's where they would be living when they go up to the space. So how they are doing and coping in a gravitation free environment, that also they need to get into a simulator and live there and do stuff. And also, there are simulators for many things. Actually, the flight simulators are there. The driving simulators are there. Anybody who has used a driving simulator to learn how to drive?
Sir, it is used lesser in India, but outside of India, it's used more.
Yeah, those in Delhi who they would know that Maruti actually has started driving school where they had these simulators, and one of the their training centers was right next to where I stay. Yeah, so uh, there are simulators even for power plants, how to run a power plant, and the simulators are not only teach you how to run the plant, but also how to respond to any emergency. And simulators actually can create those emergency situations. Suppose there's a one of the engines fails in a aeroplane. Normally, the airplanes will come with twin engines or even four engines. So if one of the engines fail, then how to navigate and land the plane in a nearby airfield, or even on water, or on a field, a normal field. So these kind of situations can also be created in a simulator. If you remember, Indigo had lots of failures, engine failures. The Max engine, it failed several times. In fact, it was a worldwide situation where the Max engine would regularly fail, and the pilots would be required to either go back to where they had started off, or they would divert the plane to a nearby airport and land there, right? So the simulators can actually create those situations for the pilots to gain some experience as to how to pilot a plane when one of the engines is not has failed. Similarly, there are simulators for power plants. There would be I don't know how many of you have actually visited a power plant. They're humongous. Like if you look at bulb, it is what 7 watt, 8 watts, 15 watts. Whereas the power plants have what they could be as big as say 800 megawatt. 800 megawatt means what? 1 kilowatt is say 1,000 watts, and there would be 1 megawatt means 1,000 into 1,000. So you have 800. So you can imagine how many bulbs it can actually light up. So they are very huge plants, and anything goes wrong with that plant, in the sense there is high pressure, or decoupling has to happen. Everything. I mean, there could be any number of reasons why where the plant can fail, and it'll cause risk to very huge risk to human life. So the engineers who are taken from the campuses, they actually go through a simulator module for a different capacity of plants. There are 210 megawatt simulator, there are 500 megawatt simulator, there are 800 megawatt simulator, and they have to actually need to respond to various emergencies on the simulator, and they so that's how they gain muscle to they build their muscle for running a power plant,
Sorry,
right? Yeah,
actually, this
Mr. Panda.
yeah,
Yeah,
firefighting mock drills, are they simulation?
they are not simulation. They are basically demonstrations,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. Simulations are they are basically gadgets where the real thing is simulated, and you are expected to respond to various situations. Say for example, a driving simulator. You it actually simulates
The very
the
feeling
drivers.
of driving, the very
Yeah,
feeling of
yeah,
driving.
yeah. And it has the dashboard,
Hmm.
and it has accelerator, it would have a clutch and a gear,
Right.
and there'll be a screen in front of you where the road would actually be approaching the traffic and road. It'll be like a road,
Right.
driving on the road,
Yeah, yeah.
and you have to change gear.
Hmm.
If it is say as a very sharp left turn, you have to slow down. So you have to take your foot from the accelerator and change
Right.
the gear, and actually do the use the steering wheel to take a left turn. So if you don't do that, then there will be a crash, and
Yeah.
there will be in the simulator itself there will be a crash. You people must have played video games, right?
Yes.
So it's something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Like
Yeah,
if you
video
don't
game.
in on video games, if you don't drive properly, you would crash, right?
Yeah, right, right.
Similar thing happens here also.
So
All right.
it happens most of the times that many there are certain key areas where people find it difficult. Supposedly, as you said, that in the driving thing, most
Yeah.
of the people find it difficult. Not just the reverse parking, but in you like outside of India, it is like parallel parking.
Yeah, yeah,
Is mostly the area where people find it difficult.
yeah, yeah,
So in those cases, with the help of simulators, they really help us and teach us.
yeah.
So that we would not actually end up crashing.
Damaging somebody else's car.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, correct. Okay.
Mr. Shah, just one question here.
Yeah.
So is this virtual reality and augmented reality is part of simulation games, or like they are more bigger things?
See, simulators were there much before the AR and VR came into being. AR, VR can be used in simulators, and that's a higher form of simulator, right? So, AR, VR is actually used now for enhancing the capability of simulator. But you don't require, it's not the other way around. If you don't have AR, VR, it does not mean that simulator is not possible to make. So like the driving simulator or the flight simulator or the power plant simulator, they don't. I mean, about 5 years back, they did not use AR VR. So now it's getting integrated, and it is making the simulators much more real. Yeah,
Got it. Got it.
yeah. So AR VR they are not actually simulators. They are what they are say
Enhancing the
software technique. It enhances the effectiveness of a simulator. Right. Simulator is a thing. It's you can actually reach out and touch a simulator, whereas you cannot reach out and touch AR VR. Right. They are basically what software, basically. Yeah. All right. Programmed instruction. Anybody would like to comment on this? What it is, when it is used, any use cases? Yeah. Amrin, why don't you say something about it?
Sure, sir. So it's basically a structured method
Yeah.
wherein we try to give out instructions to the participants.
Mhm.
And uh, I mean, there's a maybe a planned or planned structure by which we impart the training to these participants.
Mhm.
So
Okay. Is it?
basically, the
Yeah.
one that I showed, about the Microsoft Education,
Yeah.
wherein I mean, you said it that you have to first pass one module. It's like it doesn't require a physical trainer, kind of,
Yeah.
and there would be a set of modules or lessons, and then the participants who are undergoing those programmed instruction courses or whatsoever, they would have to complete one module, pass a test
Yeah.
before they actually can go on to the next module. It would be linked, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. Good. Thank you. Arpita, anything you remember about the PI?
Programmed instruction.
Yeah. What happens there?
There are a set of programs where
Yeah.
which you follow, and you're learning. You don't go to the next step till you finish the first one. So the learning every stepwise is is measured, uh, taking you to a goal, which is the objective of the program instruction. For example, like we do, we have to do one training every year to keep our licenses for operating aircraft. So every year we have to do certain courses, like different aircrafts, how they work, whatever. So every time we start the program, we have to pass the first step to go to the next step, otherwise it keeps sending us back. So you follow the instructions,
Yeah.
and that's not the example. You follow a set of instructions and you learn the outcome, and that is your takeaway from the training.
Okay. And does it happen face to face or?
No, it is usually a part of e-learning.
Usually part of it.
So I would like to add an example here.
Yeah.
May I?
Yeah. Yeah. Please
Okay,
go ahead.
so LinkedIn Learning is if we do a course on LinkedIn Learning, what we do is we follow one chapter, and then there are several questions for the chapter. We have to answer those questions, and there are minimum number of questions that we have to answer correctly. If we do that, then only we can proceed to the next chapter.
Yeah. 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 It's similar to that, right? Okay. And what's the advantage, Durga Mehrotra? What's the advantage of a program instruction? Durga, are you there? Okay. Pratiksha Patil. Advantages of programmed instruction. See, this is a reason why I am calling out the names. Because you need to get out of your shell and you, you must get over your hesitation to speak.
Sir, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
This
So,
is
Ranjita.
Yes, Ranjita, please go ahead.
Okay, so you can do it at your own page and at your convenient time.
Yeah.
And it is self-learning actually. And
Self-learning, very good.
yes. So you are doing at your own pace and time. And learners can work individually as well. and this is like not complicated, less complicated, and materials are well structured and updated.
Okay.
So yeah,
Like
that's
May
what
I
are
answer?
Yeah, please go ahead.
It would also break the geographical barriers. One can have an
Yeah.
access to this learning from anywhere around the world. And
Mhm.
also the results are instant. So you understand how was your performance then and there.
Yeah.
And apart from that, sir, if I may add, it's a very important criteria over here is self-motivated,
Yeah.
self-motivation.
Self.
Learner has to be self-motivated to go for the program instruction most of the times.
Okay. Okay. Uh, let me just introduce you to something which actually happens in a training, right? And it differs from training method to training method, right? The word is power, right? So, in a lecture method, where does the power center lie?
With the trainer,
With the trainer, right?
So it lies with the trainer and
Correct.
the way the trainer teaches the class.
Correct.
Also,
So,
the kind of information and knowledge he has, that
yeah,
has to be of the highest quality.
right,
And so the rapport building also, the way you build your rapport with the learners.
right. In a demonstration method, where does the power lie?
in the steps, the laying out the structure of steps, how the demonstrator is showing the step, how clearly it is understood by the other. So the steps clearly
And
indicated.
so the transition that is moving from one step to another, how smoothly you do that, like the person who is watching you gets in one go that what you did was so perfect that we can actually do that ourselves.
I'm talking about personal power. Where does the personal
Oh,
power lie?
sorry, person.
Uh, I would think it lies with the learners, because if you're not paying attention and you are not, seeing every step, you
Yeah.
tend to lose, and the outcome could be different from what it is intended.
So the power is divided, right?
Yeah,
Power
yeah.
lies both with the instructor as well as with the
And the learner.
learner. Where does the power lie in programmed instruction?
So with the
Hmm.
learner.
With the learner.
Learner's
Right?
motivation, sir.
Almost 95% power lies with the learner,
Learner.
right?
Learner.
So the method also decides about the power balance. You must be very conscious about this factor, right? When you
Hmm.
go ahead and become a trainer, you must also be very very careful and uh, be aware of the power balance as to how much power you want to give to the your learner, right? And how much power you want to keep with you, right? So when there's an online instruction like this one, right? So where does the power lie?
With the learner, of course, because
with the
Online,
learner. Mm.
yeah. So it's again divided, and it's up to me how much power I want to devolve onto you. If had it been just a PowerPoint presentation, and I mute all of you, right? And it's a monologue from 10 to 11:30, and that all that you can do is put some questions on the chat box, and it will be my sweet will whether to answer those or let it linger for till the last moment, and then I touch upon it, right? So that power balance is a lot of power is with me, right? I'm not devolving that power. So what happens if the power balance is in favor of the facilitator or the teacher or the trainer to a very large extent? What happens then?
then two factors are very important in that case, sir.
Yeah.
One is the knowledge and the skill of the trainer, and the second is the experience.
Yeah.
The more the trainer is experienced, the more he knows what will be the key areas to be taught, what needs to be avoided, and also what is the requirement customized kind of according to the batch or according to the trainees, learning level.
Okay. Right. My question was different. My question was, when the power balance is awfully in favor of the teacher or the trainer, what happens to the learning process as well as to the learners?
Learners,
What
what will
effect
happen
does it have on the
will be
learners?
less motivated, because
Yes.
research has shown that when we give more power to people to direct their learning, they become self-directed learners.
Right.
And so that's why facilitation rather than lecturing is so much more important, because people will feel powerless and they will give up the responsibility of their learning, and they
Yeah.
will learn less as a result.
Very good. Very good. Anybody else
Sir,
would
it
like
will
to comment?
increase the sir, Ravindra this side. Sir, it will teach the teacher talk time, and the students, even if they have a question or they want to express something, they will feel overpowered, and they will not feel free enough to interact with the teacher, because they know that the person who's talking is like just going on with whatever she wants to say or he wants to say. So
Right.
their expression of the freedom of expression would be limited, not
Yeah.
limited, but they won't even able to use it.
Many a
Right.
times there would be loss of interest as well.
There'd be loss of interest as well. Okay.
And there's a possibility of it become one-sided affair, because if the power is more on the trainer side,
Yeah.
it is more of a one-sided affair than the mutual the benefit basically.
Right. Right.
So in case of adult learners, they have to, be totally sure that they are in it for themselves and not for anybody else. So the stakes for them have to be higher than the teacher. So that's how they get involved and interested, thinking that okay, I am going to gain something, and it is going to be for my benefit. So that is what drives their learning.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for bringing in the adult learning concept. How are the adult learners different from the learners in a school or college? Because you, as trainers, will actually be dealing with adult learners. You won't be dealing with
Learners at
students. Yeah.
Learners
learners
try
at
to
school are
tie their
compulsory
past
learners. They
experience.
have to, yeah.
The greatest difference is, in school, the students would like to go for change, but here adult learners, they are not inclined to go for change. When you change them, it's very difficult because they have some conception in their mind, and to change them, it is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
reason behind this is the level of knowledge and experience that the young learners and the adult learners. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there is the vital difference that the when adult learners have an experience or knowledge or skill to some extent, there is always this kind of already that resistance that I already know this much, then keep them motivated to learn more. With the young learners, it's very easy because they are kind of a blank slate kind of, where you can make them learn,
Mm-hmm.
So
and they
for
are more
the adult,
receptive as well, whereas adult learners are not that receptive.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
I guess for adult learner, we have a pre concept already and their own experience,
Yeah.
and so at times we have to learn, relearn, and unlearn for
Yeah.
adult learning.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel.
All right.
the thing, sir,
Okay.
I would like to add here.
Yeah.
Learners at school basically are learning out of compulsion,
Mm-hmm.
and adult learning is purely based on initiative of the learner.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So if they are given the responsibility, and the learning is learner centric. Earlier, what used to happen? I mean, in the schools and colleges, learning is teacher centric, right? Right. Whereas in adult learning situation, it is learner centric. So the responsibility also differs. In schools and colleges, the responsibility of learning is fairly and squarely on the teacher, whereas in adult learning situation like in the corporates, the responsibility for learning is on the learner, on the employee or whosoever joins as participant in a. So it is learner centric, and when the power balance shifts to the trainer totally or substantially, then what happens is we are actually going against the adult learning principle. We are going back to the school or college. Then what happens is the learning doesn't happen. There is resistance, and the learner would actually be cut off from what's happening in the learning session, because the responsibility once it shifts to somebody else, then you are free. You are free to do whatever you want to do, right? Whereas if you are putting the power in the hands of the learner himself or herself, then it is his responsibility. The programmed instruction puts the entire power, almost 95% of the power, on the person who has enrolled for that particular module, whether it is programmed instruction, whether it is e-learning, and the other methods where the like the demonstration method or simulation, unless the person actually manipulates the stuff like in a lab or in the simulator, unless they actually reach out and do stuff, or in a case study or group discussion where the power shifts to the learner, and unless they participate, unless they interact, just imagine if you had not interacted. We had this the seventh class we are having, and from the very first class you have been interacting with me, with each other, and you have been sharing your experiences. So the learning curve actually it goes up, and you learn much more than what you would have if you had just sat there doing nothing else but listening to me, right? So you don't learn much by listening, because we have 2 years, right? So बचपन में हमको बोला जाता था कि एक कान से सुनो दूसरे कान से निकाल दो. That actually happens, right? So if you are just listening and doing nothing else, then your retention would be much less than if you are actually working upon the concepts which you have learned, and speaking up or writing down or checking on the web the concept you have learned, or you start using the concepts. If you are working, then you start using the concepts which you have learned. Like if you are a trainer, already a trainer, then you would actually try out stuff like which we used, like the countdown timer for your trainees, or you try out the Paul everywhere, which we used, and we discussed. You try out the business games, and you try and find similar games and play with your learners. So that way it keeps the participants on their toes, and the learning curve actually it goes through the roof if you do that, because the adults actually want to take control, right? It's much more democratic. So if the power is with the learner, then the responsibility also shifts to the learner. And if somebody is responsible, somebody is accountable for his or own learning, then the learning is faster and it's much more sustainable, and they also retain what they learn, right? So just remember about the power factor in training, and also the adult learning principles, right? Okay. All right. So we also did the case study. You people remember the case study method. So when do we? What are the circumstances, situations where we use this case study method? When do we use case study?
For critical thinking, sir.
For critical thinking, yes. Yeah. So what all comes out in a case study? What are the learnings which takes place in a case study? One is critical thinking, analysis.
Analysis of
Yeah, analysis.
Decision making skills.
Decision making skills, very good. What else?
Conflict resolution.
Okay, conflict resolution.
The understanding situations where there are a lot of complicated factors in play, and how all those interrelated factors can motivate a particular outcome.
Yeah. All right. What else?
Decision making.
Decision making, yes. What else?
How to deal with ambiguities.
How to deal with ambiguities, yes. In fact, case study also has a bonus. Yeah. Sorry.
May I, sir?
Yeah, please.
To understand the learner's capability and skill, based on that, the training module would be decided. I mean,
Yeah. So there's a bonus from the case study, which has nothing to do with the case study actually, right? The bonus is your communication skills, right? When you actually have gone through it, analyzed, you have discussed, and then you have to come forward and make a presentation before the whole class, right? So how you are presenting, how you are handling the question answers, so your communication skills also gets enhanced through the case study. That's a bonus for the case study method.
Don't you think linkage also between organization helps? Like for example, NTPC.
Yeah.
There is a unit in Kanya, there is a unit in Korba.
Right.
Now, for example, one machine failed in Korba,
Mhm.
but similar type of thing happened in Kanya. And in Kanya, what happened? They are thinking what to do. Then somebody tells, no, in Korba, similar thing happened, and by doing this, they could kill themselves out. So Kanya tried that, and Kanya also in Kanya it was successful. So what that is that not a case study?
Yeah, certainly. That's a unintended benefit of a case study, where you are you are transferring your learning from one situation to another, right? Many times the situations may not be similar, but yes, you have a point, in the sense you can learn from a situation, and the learnings can be used in another situation, similar situation. Yes, Mr. Panda. Yeah, that's.
I would like to just highlight something here. I
Yeah.
think, in context of what Mr. Panda just said,
Yeah.
sometimes what happens that, when you're working in multiple locations, so you form best practices, because
Yeah.
each plant report submit its report about what they are doing best, what they can improve upon, and those best practices got submitted with the headquarter, and then they circulated with the rest of the plants basically. So so in that way also we can see that that but here is more of an angle of report or submission of best practices, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. In fact, many organizations have this KM portal, which is called the knowledge management portal, where they capture stuff like this, how things happen. And Game Portal is available across the organization. So if something has happened, or some situation has arisen in, say, a Korba plant, and there's a newer plant which is coming up, or newer project, and they face the same problem, they can actually go to the game portal and find out where similar thing has happened and how they resolve that problem, and the learning is much faster. All right. So yeah, but that's another area. That's not case study. Case study is a method which is used in a training program, right? So of course, a case study can also be developed from a particular situation and used in a classroom situation. So yes, those are real life case studies. Like in fact, I remember NTPC had developed a case study on their Simadri project. Simadri is in Andhra, and they actually that's actually the a project which is coastal, near the coast, and they actually use the water from the sea, and they get the water from the sea and desalinate it and use it in the power plant. If you use saline water, then the entire plant would go bust. So this is a technology which they used for the first time in India, and NTPC as well as IIM Ahmedabad, they created a case study on this particular thing, and that is being used in many training programs. In fact, I have also used that training that particular case in a training program which I had conducted for other organizations.
Sir, I just want to ask you something,
Yeah,
just a
please go.
clarification. So, what
Yeah.
is the difference then with the investigation and case study? Like, for example, in our airline, I come from airline background. So,
Yeah.
in airline, we do have a lot of provisions and a lot of rules been modified because of a lot of investigations from the past incidents, and they came up with new rules and regulations every year. So is that an investigation or is that a case study?
So investigation is different from case study. Case study is basically a story that you tell about a particular incident. It can be real or it can be imaginary. Like the Maxine case which we did, that was an imaginary case. It's not something which is real. But normally what you do is, even if you take real incidents, then you don't name the organization or the people who are involved in that particular incident, and make a fictionalized story about, and that becomes a case. So case study is basically uh, helping your learners to develop analytical skills, for helping them to develop decision making skills, not for replicating those decisions in real life. So case studies, the purpose of case study is not that. In fact, case studies, they do not lend themselves to just one solution. Most effective case studies are, they can actually have more than one solution, and there's nothing right or wrong about solution in the case study. The beauty of case study lies in how it helps the participants to analyze the facts which have been given, how they use those facts to buttress whatever conclusions they have derived at, how they are able to present their case. That's where the beauty of case study lies. It is not to solve a particular problem. The solution of the particular issue in a case study is superfluous. So you are not supposed to find a solution to a case study, because there could be many solutions to a particular situation. How you are approaching it, how you are analyzing it, how you are logically linking the various data which is available, that is what is uh, absorbed and seen in a case study, rather than the whether your solution is right or wrong, right?
Yes, sir. Got it. Got it.
All right. So case study has a different motive altogether. Using the case study method has a different motive altogether than what you said about investigation for a particular. Like yes, airline they do have, if there is an accident or there is a near accident, then they do investigate the reason for it, and they take action for it not to happen in future. So that's not case study. That can be used as a case study, yeah, certainly, but that is not case study. That's basically came knowledge management, yeah, learning from your mistakes or learning from your near misses, right? So that's different. Okay, so coming to on-the-job training. Okay, any learnings from here? When do we use on-the-job training? What are the advantages, disadvantages?
Do you think the on-the-job training is mostly at a lower level or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It can be like your job rotation, right? A job rotation which happens where people move from one area to another. That's not for only junior people. Even senior people. Like if I want someone to be in the CEO talent pipeline and or leadership pipeline, then I would want that person to have experience of different areas, whether it is sales, marketing, operations, even HR. So I move that person, my top ranker, to different areas, so that that person, because if you are a CEO, then you have to have knowledge of various areas. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So on the job training does not necessarily have to be only for the younger lot or at the entry level. Yeah. Go ahead. What is the training objective when you choose on the job training as a method?
So, can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
So on the job training is based on the principle of learning by doing.
Learning by doing,
Like
yes.
yeah. So basically, the workers or the trainees, they learn on the job while performing the job within the actual working scenario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it is the transfer of skills and knowledge with, for example, with a buddy system or somebody shadowing you, and you're learning.
Yeah.
So that is it.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
So OJT is also for upskill and reskill for any employee in the organization, and the learning would be the knowledge, skill, attitude, competency at the very place where the person is already performing the job.
Yeah.
So it saves on time also, and a lot of flexibility and trying out again.
Right. So the transfer of knowledge does not take much, because you are there at the spot where you would actually be working, right? So it's not a transfer of knowledge from a classroom to a workplace. Your learning actually happens at the workplace. So the transfer is not an issue. Yeah, transfer of knowledge is not an issue.
A little bit knowledge is, I mean, if we talk about knowledge, skill, competency,
Yeah.
so skill and competency definitely, but knowledge, when the trainee is telling, or the buddy or the mentor is telling. So knowledge part also plays a little bit role, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, certainly, certainly. Yeah.
On the job.
Yeah, many a time.
Many times it happens that, initially the knowledge part is, taken care of, and to enhance the skill part, the OGT, I mean, it is like going simultaneously divided into 2 or 3 schedules, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. Thank you. All right. Somebody else was saying something?
Yes, this is Pradeep, sir. I
Yes.
think this is like very cost-effective method because your daily routine will remain as is. So
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
have to plan, something specific to train someone. So this is more of like your production things will not hold actually, or like they will go as is, and
Yeah,
training will also take place.
yeah, yeah. Right. So,
But sir,
so you are not losing out on productivity.
Yes.
Although it may hamper, like the person here, he is taking time off from his actual work to explain to these 3 people, right? So to that extent, his work may suffer, but he also gains a lot in the sense he gets to know the new joinees. He is able to articulate what actually happens. Otherwise, when you are actually doing stuff, you won't even give much thought to what you are doing. But when you are explaining something to somebody, then you are able to relate to the work which you are doing, and also you are able to articulate as to how what you are doing is linked to the bigger the production process which is happening in the organization, right?
sir, in one of the session, you happen to mention that the small business can't afford OJT because of the cost playing into effect.
It was actually the other way around. The
Is
small
it?
businesses, they actually cannot afford the training programs because they cannot take out their employees because they have very few employees. And if they take out, say, 20 people and send them to a classroom training or any
Okay,
other, even online, then their production suffers, right? So,
got it. I
so,
got
so mostly small businesses prefer on the job training
it. Right.
rather than classroom.
And in case of new hires, sir, most of the times product training is actually paired up with this OJT. As soon as the product training is done, the last part of it is the on-the-job training, so that the new hires get the hands-on experience, kind of the product that has been explained for or services that they've been their work, kind of.
Right. So, okay. We still have 5 minutes. So, any questions you have on any of the training methods, or anything which is agitating your mind about the entire syllabus? Go ahead.
Sir, for OZT, I guess it is also a method in which few of the organizations they do it, after the training and everything has been done to sort out the competent trainers or the learners, and sometimes they tell to leave the company also in OZT if they think they are not competent enough as well. So it is a
Uh,
method of sorting out, I guess.
Not really, not really. In fact, I think what you are mentioning is about the there's a cooling off period after the training is over, and that's called what is it called? It's normally 6 months probation. Yeah. So what you are mentioning is about probation period. Probation is different
No,
from on the job training. Yeah.
Hmm.
So on
No,
the
I'm
job
not mentioning.
training.
I'm not mentioning, sir, about a provision. Few
Yeah.
of the organizations, they do after the training has been done for
Yeah.
3 months or 2 months or 1 month, then
Okay.
they give them OJT for at least 15 days. And
Okay.
in that period, if they find they are not competent enough, then
Mm-hmm.
they will either put them in a training again, or
Mm-hmm.
either they will be told to leave. So this I have seen
Actually,
in
I've
few
seen. Okay,
instances. Yes.
okay, but it will be very rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those will be very rare instances because you cannot actually know whether a person is able to do the work in 15 days time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it does happen. Like in the sense in NTPC, they take engineer trainees straight from the
Mm-hmm.
campus, and their classroom training and on the job training, it alternates. Maybe in the first 6 months, 3 months, they will have classroom training, then they will be sent to a project of their own for another 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
where they would test out what they have learned in the class, and they
Yes.
would be placed in various departments, maybe in the plant, in commercial, in operations, and after 3 months they'll again come back for another 3 months classroom training. So
Mm.
they would clarify the whatever they have learned on the job, and they would clarify those concepts in the classroom. Then again they go back for on the job training. So when that happens, then your learning is much more robust than if you are doing only classroom training for a longer stretch and then you are put on the job, right?
Mm.
So
Yes.
it works. Yeah. Any other questions?
Uh, Hello, so this is Pradeep.
Yes,
So
Pradeep.
being trainer, sometimes you have to decide, the training style or training method which you are comfortable with,
Yeah.
or, the method which is more appropriate for that particular task.
Very good question. Uh, yeah, the latter should be should be the reason why you should choose one method or the other. But in actual fact, what happens is sometimes you are forced to adopt a method. Like the organization may decide that we would like to teach leadership to our workers or our junior management through a outbound training program. So the outbound training program is decided by the organizations, not by the trainer, right? So sometimes it happens that ways. Other times, what happens is the trainer is more comfortable in a particular method, and he or she adopts that method, no matter whether it's an appropriate method or not. Suppose I am trained in psychometric tests, and the psychometric test may not be the appropriate tool for a particular learning objective. But since I am trained in that, I would force use that particular method uh, because I'm expert at it, right? And a third instance could be that you're working in collaboration with other associates. They also influence the training method which the team would adopt, right? So there are various other regions which are extraneous to the actual reason why a training method should be adopted is its appropriateness for the learning objective. Yes, you're right. Very good question. Anybody else? Any other questions? Soumya Srivastav, any questions?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I was about to ask that the case studies are relevant to which sort of trainings?
Okay.
The case study
Case,
methods.
yeah, case study method is relevant to mainly a, a set of participants who are slightly evolved in the sense they know their subject, they have some knowledge of areas, and where you want them to develop critical thinking, you want them to develop analytical skills, you want them to develop logical thinking, and also to some extent communication, because they have to come up and make a presentation to the class. If the class is very junior, or they are total freshers, so if you give them, say for example, if you have a group of fresh engineers who have joined just from the campus, and you give them a corporate case study, then possibly the method may not be very effective.
Okay, sir. So the same thing we are facing, the same sort of problem I faced while having this case study during this course, and the things which I like went for sorting out that to reach with the corporate people, to talk more to them, to just get a hands on what is actually happening in the corporate world. So the thing is that the more and more we talk about those case studies, the only idea to get into the real light.
Right. So case study actually presumes that your participants have reached a certain level of knowledge and understanding. Else, it will not work. Unless you make the case very, very easy and very, very commonplace, and which may not be useful. Yeah. So case study method should be used. Yeah. Go ahead.
So Soumya here.
Yes,
I
sir.
think case study can also be used as a check for understanding. You know, we speak about a concept and then we give them certain scenarios.
Yeah.
That helps us to understand as trainers whether they have really understood that particular topic or not.
Yeah.
Sometimes that helps that way as well.
That also helps. Like once you have imparted certain concepts, and how well they are able to relate that particular case to the concepts which they have learned. Yes, definitely yes.
So,
Yeah.
in one of the jobs that I actually, went for, it actually
We lost you.
we had to actually, study the cases to resolve the conflict with the consumers.
Okay.
So there would be like kind of a dozen cases, or I mean 9 to 10 cases given to a person to resolve in a day. Just so not resolve, for study in a day, go for it, and then find some resolution,
Yeah.
negotiate with the consumer. So that was a totally, it cannot be termed as case study, but the whole job consisted of those things.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
What can it be termed as? That is not some training kind of. That was, but case study. On the principles of case study itself.
It may be something which is hybrid, and normally the case studies are done in a group. Case studies are not given to individuals, right? So what you were given, those 8-9 caselets, would be can be termed as problem solving. Not as case study, because case studies are normally done in a group situation.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Any other? All right, guys. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
All the very best for your exam, as well as for your future endeavors, personal as well as professional. And hopefully we'll meet again. And thank you for attending all the 7 sessions. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
So kindly
Thank you
provide
so
us
much,
contact
sir.
details.
I'm sorry, come again.
Kindly provide us your contact details so that we can contact you for further.
Okay, my details. All right. I'm there in your WhatsApp group. So my number is 8860 549 234. Okay, you can note it down.
Please
Double
repeat.
eight. Okay, I'll put it in the chat box. All right. So 8860 549 234. Okay. So I'm on WhatsApp also on this number, and anytime, right? Don't think that our relationship is over. So if you are stuck anywhere, you want any support, anything, just ping me. I'll come back to you. Right?
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, guys.